Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Non-Stop Tabletop, the jazziest hands that you've ever seen in a tabletop network. It's great to be back. Thank you for having us. Today, we're going to be talking about another Sentinel video. I know you've heard so much about them. When will we ever shut up about them? Probably after this one. And then, that's it. We're done.
Yeah,
but
until we get some games in.
But today we're going to be a little bit more specific than the last time. Last time we did a first impressions. Today we're going to be trying to think of what we would use with the Sentinels. Mainly it's just going to be me playing them because I'm super excited for them. See like what we would do with them when they're actually on the board, who we would play them with, so on. We're just going to be talking about it. But before we do that, I'm going to make a little plug. If you're in the Rhode Island area, so Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, come to East Providence. Yeah, come to East Providence and go to Guy's Cradle. It's where we go ahead. That's where the three of us and the other boys in our league go to play MCP. We go there on Saturdays, play our league games, just hang out, have a good time. I am not sponsored by them in any way. I'm just doing it because one, I want the store to do well, and two, I want more people to come and play MCP with us. Is that too much to ask? Is that a crime? No.
Yeah.
So, it is?
It's on the ballot this year.
Oh.
We'll find out.
Oh no. All right. Well, come to Guy's Cradle. Have a good time. Love you guys. On to the actual topic. We're going to be talking about Sentinels. The Sentinels. Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
That's what they're called. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
No, perfect pronunciation. No notes.
So we don't need to break them down again because Wolverine's going to be doing that enough for them. What do you guys think? Do you think that you're gonna be ever running all three of them as a whole, like the building that 12 13 13 threat? I wish, here's my one thing, here's my selfish thing. I wish the prime cost one more for 6, and then it would be so much easier to play the 14 threat, because there's only one left, one or two left, because they banned the herbs, and there's the blue one.
I think there's gamma radiation is a 15. There's a 15 that's legal.
There's only
It's
one
the
more
gamma wave.
14, and it is mutant extremists target U.S. senators.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have options for low threat, and we talked about it in the other video, I think, but like it would have been cool to sort of build low and just run your 3 Sentinels and just have them overpower whatever your opponent's roster is.
Yep.
Because if your opponent can't build for that team cost, they're just going to lose. Especially when it seems like a lot of teams now sort of slot in Malekith as their like
Malekith
bunga heavy hitter. Like that's sort of their huge output character. And if you're running a 14 or a 15 point Goss game, he becomes way less valuable, because if he goes down, like, you're just in a real rough spot. So it kind of sucks that you can't run low to the ground threat and just be like Sentinels.
It's nice because you get to just talking about Malekith, because obviously every video you're going to have to talk about him for at least a second. The nice thing about Sentinels versus Malekith is they have good defenses against all three. Granted, Malekith isn't really going to use the blue against them, especially with their passive ability. So that's out of the equation. So at least that gets rid of one of his main attacks. 2, you get to control where he goes. After he goes, you get to do restraint cables, and you get to say, no, dum-dum, you're going here, which that's nice. Suppression protocols Mark II on both are the suppression protocols on both the regular Sentinels and Prime. Basically just says you're about to get a lot of status conditions on you if I roll well enough. So at least there's that. So that's granted, you don't have access to stagger on them, but you still have access to a lot of good stuff regardless. So that's my first thought is...
I think a good question for everyone, and we can just go around, is be like, are you going to run 3 Sentinels as your base, or do you think you'd mostly run Cassandra, Prime, and 1 Sentinel as your base? Like, how do you think up front when you first start looking at the team, what do you think your 3 core are going to be? I think it's Cassandra, Prime, and a Sentinel. I think that's how I would go about it.
It gives you access to different things. There's enough there's variety, and you get the blue attack as well. You get the sap
Yeah.
power with Cassandra Nova. There's definitely enough there to warrant. And she's good, man. She's a great character regardless. She's right in my face.
She's a really good character. It's also like when you team build, you have to think like, is her extra threat at a 5? Is she so much better than a Sentinel that it's worth running a 2 cost instead of a 3 cost? And I think that's something that I feel like that's kind of personal preference, depending on what your list is trying to do, because there's some solid 2 costs that can get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's like my thought going into it. Is I think that her 1 extra threat is okay if you're gonna run like. I have team building options. We'll go into those later. But how do you guys feel about the core?
Let's have Nick go because he hasn't really been able to say anything yet.
Well, so
all right, now shut up. It's my turn.
About it.
Just kidding.
I'm just thinking about it. So the thing about it is we don't really know if that's the final affiliation. You know, the 2 Sentinels and Cassandra Nova.
Add Mr. Sinister.
Potential, yeah, Sinister could go on. We don't really know if that's what they'll do though. But I'm thinking that they will probably have specific team tactics cards that require a Sentinel to play them, and it will just be restricted to the Prime and the Mark IVs. So I'm thinking, it's just all assumptions, that there's probably going to be something there where it's like you want to play this team tactics card and you want to play it in many situations, so you probably would want 3 Sentinels on the board for that. So I'm gonna kind of just to be different, but I'm gonna say I would run the 2 Sentinels and the Prime. I understand having Cassandra Nova is really important because it is, you know, 1 more point, you get like a lot more variety. I can't imagine there be a roster where you have only the 3 Sentinels on it and not her.
Yeah, I mean, you probably put all 4 of them on your 10-person roster anyway.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Well, the nice
we've
thing
all
is
played enough games where you know that there's like characters you feel like you always bring and characters that sometimes you don't. So.
And I know this crisis card, in my opinion, I think it is actually the most brought crisis card. It's hammers. Duh.
Yeah.
You always got to bring hammers. I feel like hammers are especially good with Sentinels, and here's my reason why. This team, how I'm gonna build it, and I've read this, and I've already been theory crafting this team because I am genuinely in love with Sentinels. Like ever since I was a kid, dude, big fan of just their design. I think they're so cool. They're not as great as a version, but they're Black Order, and Ryan said it too, like before we were actually recording. They're a definite Black Order kill more team. So hammers is going to be good because you have access to the 2 Sentinel primes, or the 2 Sentinels prime, and then also Cassandra Nova. That's 18 right there. So at least you have that.
Yeah, hammers is an 18-point game.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
The hammers does wonders for the suppression protocols. It does wonders for Psionic Bolt. Yeah, Psionic Bolt, her builder with Cassandra Nova. So you get to sap more power realistically because it gives you more access to dice to give you more access to potentially rolling wilds. It's just stuff like that. Those like interactions, the ability just to have more dice to get more wilds, which helps with the suppression protocols, which helps with Psionic Bolt. Those characters alone, that's the reason why I'd bring hammers. And I love it.
And
but
just to clarify for those not super familiar with the team tactics cards that may be watching, the hammers card is the Fears Grits world as worthy terrorized cities, and it is that there's 4 celestial hammers on the board. The character can pick up as many hammers as they want. It costs 1. Is it additional power? No, you just pick up the hammers with 1 power.
Yeah.
You can hold as many as you want. Oh, good.
And for the number of hammers that a character is holding, all their attacks add that many dice. So if they have 2 hammers, they get to add 2 dice to each attack they have. The only downside is if you were to play a team, if that character specifically is going to play a team tactics card, it costs an extra power for each hammer. But having 2 dice added to attacks, having 4
Darn.
dice added to attacks
Yeah.
is definitely something that's going to be very big for
Very strong.
any character, really,
Yeah.
but for these
Mhm.
guys, it's going to
And
be
and
really
that kind of brings me to how I was thinking you would build around the team. So 18 is a good point cost. I think you want to focus like 17, 18 point, 16, 17, 18, I think is like your sweet spot. Because in a 16-point game, you can bring Sentinel Prime, 2 Sentinels, and a 3 cost. 17, you bring Cassandra Prime, Sentinel, 3 cost. And then in an 18-point game, you can either bring, you know, Sentinel, Cassandra Prime, and a 4 cost, or you could roll it back with a Sentinel, bring like the X-23 Honey Badger package, something like that. But I think that there's a few 3 costs I was looking at that I think are really good for them. Baron Zemo, he's good in like everything, but giving Cassandra Nova and the Prime and the Mark IV's rerolls for suppression to get more wilds and sat power to get more wilds, just like free rerolls on those characters is really strong, in my opinion at least. You get more value out of them, especially with Sentinels who have base 4 dice on their builder. Like a free reroll makes it so that their 4 dice is kind of like 5 dice. It's not actually 5 dice, but I think it gives them like value, more value.
But where does Malekith fit on this list? So
He doesn't, and I think that's okay.
yeah, I am making this list just even though I play him out of it. Just get out of here, you stupid tiger riding bitch, and push him off and get out of my face. I'm sick of looking at you. Get him out of here. But yeah, I also was thinking, which is again, it's ironic, right? All of my inclusions, weirdly enough, not even thinking about it, were mutants. So I was thinking, if it was like a lower, if you got a 17, you could do the 3 Sentinels and Rogue to do sap power, just to kind of keep control of them trying to get as much power as possible, because I think sap power is amazing. Plus, I think she's just great anyway. There's the Honey Badger and X-23 package, like Ryan just said. I love it. Just kill more. That was my thought. It's just like, just get in there, try to daze as many characters, or not as daze, but try to daze a character straight out of the gate, and then after that, pepper some damage throughout the models, so you can set up plays for the next round to try to just get more power. Just keep circulating that extra power to yourself, and then spend it on stuff like restraint cables, on stuff that is board placement for other characters. It's just, that's just how I personally would look at it. It's not much as like objective control, so you could afford to play stuff like the Mayor Fisk, where you're trying to just get the one, where you're trying to get the 2 points, because you get to ultimately place where they go at the end of everything, which I love it. I think that's restraint cables is so good. And the fact that you'd have potentially three characters that do it, 3 is amazing. I love it. And also, Cassandra Nova kind of does it too, if you really think about it, because she has the mind possession thing for just 1 power. It's an attack. It's a 6 mental defense attack that the target character gets to move wherever, and you get to choose it. I love it. It's just like, there's so much board placement. They're a kill more team, and weirdly enough, at the same time, an objective controlling team. So fuck you, Spider-Man, I guess. Which, speaking of, you could also go in the line of, they're there to kill people. You could have characters like Spider-Man and the other Spider people for character placement. So like, you get to advance them with the web and just be a total nuisance. You get the final say where everybody gets to go. So that was my other idea too.
Yeah, I can see that. Having just basically complete board control.
And just be a total nuisance everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
a shout out to Okoye and Luke Cage specifically. I think the team could benefit from Bodyguards. Red Guardian would also work in the same vein as Luke Cage, but Luke Cage is, I would say, pretty easily better than Red Guardian. Because of the way that the smaller Sentinels, their health is sort of weak and they kind of hurt themselves, I think having a bodyguard is pretty, it's a good call. If you really want to bring a bodyguard, I don't think that's a bad call.
No, especially if you run into potentially like the 15 with gamma with the gamma ray or the gamma shelter, whatever it is, because that's 15.
You bring those Sentinels and then like a 2-cost like a Koye
with with bodyguard. I think that'd be perfect. Take a hit for one of the little boy Sentinels. To be able to have them come back as a retaliation of just punch the person right back in their stupid face. It's tough because obviously when you're playing Sentinels, you're gonna want to play Sentinels. You're gonna want to have your big pretty robot men on the board. And as we know, not only do I love big goopy men, I love big robot men too.
Yeah.
We all
like big men.
The good news for you is that Venom fits into your strategy where he does have board-controlled pulls. He does have Bodyguard with Lethal Protector.
The problem is he's a 4-cost.
He is a 4-cost, so it'll be tough to swing him into there. But if it's a 17-cost game, you can throw him in.
He'd fit good in a 17 or 18 point, depending on who you're bringing.
Yeah.
Like a 4-cost isn't a bad idea.
And he actually has physical defense, which is something that they're kind of lacking. So you do get your physical tank that can.
And he can heal himself too, potentially.
Yep. So it gives you, like, the weird thing, I mentioned it in the first video, is that they're not very tanky in terms of like physical and energy defense.
Yeah.
For the fact that they're these big hulking robots.
Oh, I love big hulking robot men.
Their team probably is going to need a tank. I mean, a lot of times the blue defense isn't. You don't really. They're good on blue, so they can tank blue. But like, if you know you're going up against a roster that's not running a bunch of, basically, if they're not running Convocation or another very blue list, it's kind of a moot point in terms of tankiness. So you do need somebody that can probably handle reds a little better. Probably handle yellow okay. I mean, they can handle it okay too.
Yeah, they're fine against yellow.
But red mainly.
I'll give a shout out to a totally unbiased homie, Lockjaw. I think Lockjaw is actually really good for the affiliation for sort of the exact opposite reason of Luke Cage and Okoye. Because Lockjaw has an ability called, Interdimensional Bloodhound. Yeah, Interdimensional Bloodhound. He can spend 3 power to choose an enemy character, and every allied character rolls an additional attack dice when they target that character with an attack. So it makes the little Sentinels builders go up to 5. It makes the big Sentinel builder go up to 6, and it sort of feeds into their leadership ability where they want to kill things. So it makes it easier for them to do that and sort of benefit everyone around them. And since Lockjaw is a self-sustaining battery, he doesn't need to be one of the characters to take the power from the leadership. So I think he's like a really solid 3-cost option. Also, he's just like good, right? Like he can teleport a Sentinel, especially when the Mark IVs go down to only range 2 on their builder when they get injured. And the range 3 is really not that like impressive on its own.
It's pretty standard.
For a robot that's the size of a building, it can only shoot like 12 feet in front of it. So
that too,
being able to reposition your stuff and then restraint cables. Like if you Lockjaw position Mark IV or Prime at the very beginning,
a large
you put them in the middle.
Big boy.
With a large base, and then on your second activation, you just activate them. You restraint cable someone over, and like now before they've even activated 2 characters, you've got a chance to hit one of their characters twice. So I think Lockjaw honestly has a ton of value for this team, but I'm also super biased. So,
I feel like it's just see characters like that. There's just such like lately. They just feel like they're becoming such an auto include. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy. Granted, I don't think during NashCon, I don't think he was brought.
Medusa was on.
He's like. So Lockjaw is not like necessarily going to tank a lot of hits super well, and the problem is he's very unsuspecting of a character. So like if you're up against somebody that's playing with Lockjaw and you don't really know his value, you tend to ignore him because he doesn't have really any attacks. He just has his bite.
Yeah,
So it's
he
like,
bites.
oh, he's just
He
biting
bite
me.
hard
It's not like
too.
he's doing a lot of damage. But it's really like you should target him, and if you're more aware enough to know that that's something that you can do to him and that what he can do, then that kind of makes him drop off a little bit, or not necessarily drop off, but like that makes it a little tougher to make it so he is like running the game, because then the person playing with him has to like protect him and stuff like that. So that might be why you don't see him in the tournaments as much, just because
That's
everyone there
true.
knows the in and outs of everybody. So it's like something like that. It doesn't mean he's bad or anything. It's just I mean,
I will
I still think
say,
he's really good, but
in a team where you're basically running tall, a character like Lockjaw, where if they take the time to focus him down, they're not focusing down your big units anyway.
yeah.
So I
true.
think there's even some defensive
some value in
I'll
that.
put in quote, where he's not a bodyguard, but he puts a lot of pressure on the board because of just what he does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're right. Like, he's got 6 health on his front side, 3s for defense, and he can reroll 1 defense dice. So he's not like tanky, but he doesn't die that easy.
Yeah, he's got some survivability. It's just
And he's an
it's just one
inhuman
of those
too.
things where it's like I've seen games where people just like completely ignore him, and he's just like throwing
Yeah.
power out to everybody, and it's like, well, you should probably maybe give him some attention, because a lot of those games too, the
You just
person
leave
that's
it till
playing
it's too
against
late.
it, yeah, doesn't realize it, and they're just like pounding against like the stronger characters, but they're getting so supported by Lockjaw it doesn't really matter to them that
Yeah.
they're getting attacked and stuff like that. So that's like one thing.
Yeah, I think not an auto include, but I like him on the roster for
Yep.
the support. I think the support's good. I also do want to touch on the fact that I like the Cassandra Nova build slightly better than the 3 Sentinel build, because she adds the utility of the root special condition. And I think if your team being able to move Malekith, give him brute, slow, incinerate, and shock,
Then it's like,
That's pretty good.
yeah, like you get yourself in a position where if Cassandra Nova has 4 power, she can root and slow him, and then move him, or she can like move him his speed and then root and slow him, or do it the other way around, because that's all she needs. And suddenly Malekith is in a position where he can only move small. His charge now costs what it should cost, 3, and he's already out of range of what he's supposed to be doing. So that's kind of why I personally would sort of gravitate towards Cassandra Nova, because unfortunately I feel like list building is a little bit warped around Malekith. Not as much as it maybe appeared initially, but you got to respect him in your list building, and I think Cassandra Nova is a really good heat check for him, where she just like comes out, she's kind of hard to kill. His builder is yellow, which she defends against fine. She's got stealth. Like, she's got all this stuff that makes her she can't take damage from collision. She's got a lot of this stuff that, like,
I love
heat
it.
checks
I just love that
Malekith
she
really
has stealth. Like, that's just like a
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
she doesn't.
but it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
not really
stealth.
stealth, so
Eat shit marked for death.
Yep.
yeah.
So haha, don't get affected by it, which just that alone, I think that's so funny. I think there's a
She also has
couple other
healing
things.
factor 1, which is really funny. She has psychic distraction too, which is like trick. It's tricks and traps, right?
Yeah, pretty
Yes,
much.
yeah.
Or
It's a little better because she gets to move too,
Yeah,
or
it's
she gets to move as
Rocket's-
well.
yeah, it's Rocket's thing, right? Where
Yeah.
like they move close to him, and she's just like,
I'm pretty sure it's exactly
Like-
how Mysterio's is. Hold on, let me just look
Does he
at
get
it.
to move in
Yeah.
his?
Yeah, he moves. Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
yeah,
they're
it's
the
assist.
exact same way. It's
Rocket
so like
can't move, but I think it's a little cheaper. So
well,
that's
he's
why.
also a 2 threat.
this
Yeah,
is also another heat check for Malekith, because when Malekith does his charge, after he performs the move action, you get to do this before he performs his attack action.
Mhm.
So you do this. If you deal 1 damage, you can move small away from him, and now his because that attack only has range 2, it lets you escape the range of the attack that he's hitting you with. So
Yep.
she's like a hard check to Malekith, aside from her very bad red defense. So I think that's worth considering for list building when you're thinking about who to bring. Granted, she's on the affiliation, so you're probably bringing her somewhere anyway. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end, it's
Like I said-
like you need to see the team tactics cards.
Yeah, that's we gotta see what's on the roster. We gotta see what's in the team, or not the roster, the affiliation. We gotta see what's in the team tactics cards when they come out. So because yeah, she's right now she is almost a must include. I mean, like
Just
because
because.
of
Man, I think I
because there
just
is an
talked
issue with
myself
having
into
two
buying
the same.
Cassandra Nova.
Only $30 on
Because
Amazon Prime.
yeah, well because there's an issue with just bringing two of the same guy, and you're almost bringing three of the same guy because they're not too different than Prime. You
Yeah.
just kind
Yeah.
of like pigeonhole yourself a little too much. So that's kind of why having something else is good. And like I said, I chose three just because I wanted to see the team tax cards. I think they're probably gonna
Yeah.
have some strong team tax cards.
They
Um,
probably will have some really busted ones.
yeah,
I'm sure they'll have one where, like, if there's a character within 3 of all the Sentinels, you could just mess them up or something. Like,
Please.
that feels like a very
what does
Sentinel
a
thing
self
to do.
destruct? And it's like, oh, my guy has 1 health left. I'm gonna self destruct and just do like a bunch of damage to like a bunch of
Yeah.
guys around you, and that would just be amazing.
I want one so bad. I don't think they've ever done this with Sentinels. Like if all 3 are on the board, then they all get to use this one huge gigantic attack, and like
That'd be cool.
they just like do like a family Kamehameha together, and just like destroy whoever it is.
Just some dude is just chilling in between 3 Sentinels, getting beat.
They all have to be like within 3 of each other or something, and then
Like the girl on the couch, just surrounded by Sentinels.
yes, yeah. That'd be great. All right, so I feel like Sentinels are gonna be fun. At the end of the day, they're gonna be fun to mess around
I
with.
think they're gonna be really cool.
It's been more fun to theorize with these guys than I have been with like Winter Guard, which I have been recently. I've been having a good time just imagining these big robot men just going to town on them. Wait, hold on, back up. Just looking forward to it. Before we wrap up though, as always, we're gonna take a little peek at another little painting. This one's simple when you first look at it, but I really like it. Speaking of Winter Guard, this is the bear himself, Ursa Major.
Forgot that I did him.
You did.
Okay.
This is
Phrasing, but
he's my polar bear.
yeah, I think he came out pretty good. I think the problem with a polar bear on snow is that it's not very dynamic. But he
Very
was really fun
one
to
color,
paint.
but-
He took a lot longer than I thought he would take too, to get like all the under fur shading and stuff. I think I've talked about it before that characters with fur, like taking into account an undercoat and then an overcoat and sort of the difference between those and how shading interacts with those is kind of important. And I did all that, and then I got to the end, and then I just dry brushed the fuck out of him.
And gave him a cute little tree that you unfortunately can't see.
Yeah, it's behind him. There's a little tree on the base. The snow on the base I think looks pretty good. I found this really, really fine white sand that's like perfect. If you have if you're doing minis and you have a Joann's fabric anywhere near you, they have this really fine white cocaine / decor sand.
I think that's the wrong bag. That
Yeah, this is the wrong one sec. No,
Oh.
but it's like $5 and it's really, really good for snow. That's like a basing thing. Tips and tricks. But yeah, he was fun to paint. He wasn't like excessively in depth. He was just a bear.
but he's my bear. So yeah, and he roars.
I tried to find a little Santa hat for him, but I couldn't.
No, that's okay. Because eventually, with my Winter Guard, I want them to be the Christmas Guard, and I want it to be very Christmas themed. So, little spoiler for everybody. Eventually, there will be a big thing. I have with my terrain. I have a Santa's Village thing, and I eventually, now that Christmas is rolling through, I'm gonna go to my Christmas tree shop that's near me, and eventually just start getting more and more. And I
You
think
gotta use the Star Wars Legion Hoth mat as a 3x3.
Yes, because thankfully it can be split. You can buy 2 of them instead. Thank God.
Yep.
All right, so and then same thing as we wrap up. Another shout out to Guys Cradle, East Providence. Go ahead and check them out if you're in the area. Come play games with us, dude. Come let us know. Join in the Discord. Come play with us. We forever and ever and ever.
We never stop.
It's
nonstop, really.
Yeah, nonstop on our tabletop.
We'll
Let us know
see.
what you would do with Sentinels on your rosters, please and thank you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of those nice little fun things. Hit those buttons, hit those bells, do whatever you want. At the end of the day, always make sure to roll your crits because it'll help you win. From us, thank you very much. We love you very much. See ya. Bye.